republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, in case you haven't figured out by now, the Meyer Center is getting power washed in a new coat of stains. And as it would have it, they decided to start this morning during one of our board meetings. Yeah, they're done. It's a big building that they will have to move. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Start with a roll call. Mr. Innocenzi. Here. Mr. Bates. Here. Mr. Preston. Here. Mr. Garino. Here. Ms. Carnabucci.
Here.
Thank you. First up is approval of the agenda, addendum items. So moved. Second. Thank you. Ms. Carnabucci.
Yes.
Mr. Preston.
Yes.
Mr. Innocenzi.
Yes.
Mr. Bates.
Yes.
Mr. Garino.
Yes.
Next up is to approve or amend the meeting minutes from July 18, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments on those minutes? Now we'll call the vote. Mr. Garino.
Yes.
Mr. Innocenzi.
Yes.
Ms. Carnabucci.
Yes.
Mr. Bates.
Yes.
And Mr. Preston.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is a presentation of the financial statement. Turn it over to Jennifer Pay, our fiscal officer.
Thank you. I really don't have any items on this to call attention to or discuss at this point. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to entertain them.
Are we talking about the financial statement or the bills that we paid?
The financial statement
Okay.
for July.
Like you have some large dollar amounts in here, should we get some sort of, like a dollar amount where we say, we get an explanation of what that we spend on? Even a capital outlay of, is there 75,000?
Well, we do have the capital update, so you'll know like that corresponding, that's done by Matt and Q and Dan's here for questions. So, yeah, if you ever have any questions about that, but there is other documentation that supports that, so.
I'm sure there is, I'm just saying, should we get, just so that, okay, I don't want to ask a question if it's, self-explanatory. But I think we should have a dollar amount for capital outlay, especially when we use the title capital outlay. Not really sure what we're spending money on.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, the capital report ties directly
It's
to that.
further in here.
Right, yes, correct.
Okay.
And yeah, and again, if there's any like specific, like what
Well,
is this, and that's, yeah.
75,000, I just pointed it out to me where that is when we get to
Okay, understandable.
things.
Which is that part of the,
The vendor payments.
oh, the vendor payments, okay, and then when we get to that, yeah. I definitely can talk on that.
Okay. Any other questions on the financial statement? If not, we'll jump into the presentation of the payment report. Bills paid.
So this, again, is the second month that we've switched from what was known as the voucher, which was essentially payments in arrear that, or not in arrears, but the board was approving them after they've been paid. So we have, with changes in the bylaws, we are now doing this vendor payment listing upon request of the board that shows the payments to each individual vendor that the park district does business with for the month, and then the total each year for that vendor. So is this where you have the question with the 75,000?
It's on page 7.
Okay.
And that was a Middlefield Farm and Garden capital outlay, $75,288. Was that accurate? Yeah, that was for the new excavator.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's approved. So any other questions about payments to vendors for the month of July or year to date?
And for the benefit of the public, per ORC, any purchase was over $50,000. We arranged the Board of Park Commissioners. So you approve it, and you did approve the excavator prior to us purchasing it.
I don't have any other questions. Somebody have a motion?
Okay. All right, go ahead and move on. Old business, grant status update, funding requests from third parties.
And this is, again, we started last month doing updates of grants that we have in process that are pending or have been awarded, just to get a flavor, because grants are about a quarter to a third of our funding. So we depend on these traditionally, so, and again, there's not any guarantee that we ever can get grants. And the other thing that is important to keep in mind is a lot of these grants, especially ones through the state, we have to pay up front for the costs in order to get the reimbursement. So this board has to have those appropriations, we have to have that funding on hand before we can get that reimbursement. And sometimes it takes a few years to get that reimbursement because of the nature of the project. So that's important to always keep in mind with grants that we do. So any questions about our grant funding?
Have we submitted for this piece of property on, was it Fairmont?
We did not submit a grant for that, but we were planning to utilize the money that came from Ohio Stream Wetlands Mitigation Bank to purchase that property.
Okay.
If we don't get awarded a grant, does it just fall off of here, or is there something?
Yes.
So it just falls off?
It just falls off, right? Yeah, so until we know otherwise, either awarded or, submitted pending.
And they notify you if you didn't do.
Oh, that, yes, definitely, definitely.
Want to make mention of a couple we just received notice of through the Foundation for Jogger Parks. Some smaller ones, the trail marker grant was approved for $3,270. And observatory park signs and nature adventure camps were approved for $2,000 and $33.30 respectively. So thank you to the Foundation for Jogger Parks for funding those initiatives. Any other questions on grants?
Not grant related, but it has been old business on the agenda to date. I have been doing financial updates and just work sessions, and this month I was intending to do, talk about our audit process, because we get audited every 2 years by the auditor of state. So it's an independent auditor. They look at the finances, make sure that we're compliant with the Ohio Revised Code. So we have been anticipating having our 2019-2020 audit completed. However, they have communicated to us that they have been dealing with staffing issues like the rest of pretty much the world. And so they're behind with the release of the audit. So that will be forthcoming, and we can discuss the audit results and the audit process. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
What do we use for auditing?
The auditor estate. Sometimes they can farm it out to independent auditors known as IPAs. Actually, we've been working to help us with the transition, and when I came on board with James G. Zepta to just assist with financially. So sometimes they have a third-party vendor do the auditing, but they being the state auditor's office, have been doing our audits. And that's all I have for financial.
Go ahead and jump into new business, 2022 planning and operations update. You can see our current construction project listed there. Just want to mention a couple. The Westwood site lighting and trail improvements is construction crew redid some trails up around Ansel's Cave. They did a really good job, repaired some bridges, repaired some boardwalks and stairs. You get an opportunity, go out and walk the West Woods Ansel's Cave Trail. They have started work, our construction crew started work at Benson Park. So they're repairing some trails, bridges, a deck overlook out there. All other projects are underway, or in the case of Veterans Legacy Woods, obviously pretty much complete. So Daniel is here